Oh, this is just fun. Here we go. Hello, Global Theater. My name is Gerry Pielka. Today is March 6, 2026. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Also want to thank the wonderful wild world of Pixel Vision is how I met today's guest, Ben Coonley. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, you got it.
Ben, where are you calling from?
I'm in Red Hook, New York, in the Hudson Valley.
First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being, any human being?
You're answering a question with the question. So right off the bat, you win. That's what this series is all about. Invent new questions. But basically, all I ask is you put the questions into the context you want. So however you want to answer it, you can put it in that context.
Yeah, I really have to think about it to give you a good answer, but my impulse is to say restful sleep.
Oh, I like that. I rarely get that restful sleep.
But then I have to think about that. Maybe that's not the best thing. I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Don't worry about it. That's what I'm more for intuition, hunch, guess. You don't have to. First thought, best thought.
I'll try not to filter myself too much.
Yeah, no, whatever you feel comfortable. Like I said in the I say silence is okay if you need to think. And you don't have to answer, and you don't have to answer any of the questions. They're just prompts to get you to talk. So it's not like I'm for tangents, anecdotes, stories. So what's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Form of information, like a media type? Do you mean, or like just
form? The word
a form of information.
A person talking is a form of information. That's called direct.
Is that my favorite form of information? My favorite form. Wow, I'm trying to think about what kind of things people, how people would answer that question. Like Morse code. Is that my favorite? No, I'm not into Morse code.
I never got Morse code.
Yeah, I really like my favorite form of information. Written information, video. All right, I'm gonna strike out on that one, Gerry. But what's the best answer you ever got to that?
Well, no, I've done it for 40 years, so I've gotten a million great answers.
Questions to everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because you actually said it. I think you act on an impulse. You said you mean talking to people, so that's called direct experience. That's the one I get the most is direct experience, and I often get reading. Books are their favorite. Yeah. Film people might say film, and music people might say music. So,
yeah, okay,
all good. Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
For pretty much every reason under the sun, right? To help them survive, to help them make sense of a very complicated world. So they can make better jokes, so they can feel smart.
Those last two are super. Do you think this need or want to collect information is more innate or more invented?
Wow. I think it's pretty innate.
Yeah.
But I don't have any proof. I don't know how I go about proving that.
Do thoughts create emotions?
Yes.
Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
wear myself out.
Oh, that's good. I've never had that one. Wear myself out. Well, Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it. McLuhan says, I don't know what I think until I say it. Can humans think without language?
Yes.
Yeah. Chomsky says language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. Ben, what do you do when language doesn't work? When language breaks down, what do you do?
I make facial expressions, but I guess that's also a type of language, maybe.
Yeah, no, That's really good. Make facial expressions. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I like this is in light of your in some of your bios it says you're a media prankster. So this is all about this is keeping in light of the fact that we're here to have fun. So your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
Feeling, I think, is probably all beings are more feeling than thinking, animals and humans. Yeah. But we do a lot of thinking, and the
Yeah.
thinking may influence our feelings. So I don't know. I don't think those two things are necessarily super separate. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we invented the word feeling and thinking, so we think we can separate them. They're like a lot of these binary questions at the beginning. Is it more this or more that? Well, of course it's both, and it depends. But Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? Or people who meditate go, okay, now think about not thinking. And there's a bumper sticker on a car in my street. I'm curious your thoughts. It says, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
Right. Yeah. You could see, you totally could. That's a good bumper sticker. I like that bumper sticker a little bit. I kind of, because I guess the idea is, right, don't hang on to your sort of totally ingrained beliefs because they might be wrong. But then I also wonder if the person with that bumper sticker is convinced that they might be wrong about things. I mean, they probably would have to say they are, but also it feels kind of like a, I don't know, like anyway, yes. Keep going.
No, it's funny you use the word believe, and words evoke more in their meaning. Believe has the word lie in the middle of it.
Wow. True. Yes. Yeah.
Here's two from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Whoa. Is thinking a function of the soul? Sure.
Yeah. Second, Turing is, can machines think?
Maybe. I'm afraid they might be able to. I'm actually afraid that they're going to be really good at thinking soon. Yeah. But I don't know. I like when people don't think that computers can really truly think in the way that we understand thinking. What do you think, Gerry? Do you think?
Well, I'm studying the effects of all our tools immensely, and most people go, it depends on what you mean by thinking. When I say, can machines think? And it's like, well, it's like Lily Tomlin said, reality is a collective hunch. We have a kind of collective hunch what we mean by the word thinking. So, I mean, we were brainwashed when Stanley Kubrick released 2001 and Hal could talk and had feelings. So then on, it didn't matter. Effects precede causes. So, it's all good. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
Is happiness is meaningful. I think I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah, I got it from Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. He says happiness tends not to last, meaning tends to last.
Right.
Like highbrow intellect.
Different types of happiness or something. Yeah. Well, this is a deep philosophical conversation. I feel unprepared. So wait, ask the question again. Do humans pursue happiness?
No, do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I think meaning.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm kidding myself. I pursue happiness too. Maybe I just want to think that I pursue meaning because it makes me feel like I'm more of an adult or something.
Yeah. It's very interesting because I was going to say, because highbrow intellectuals usually go meaning right off the bat. And it doesn't matter. We pursue, and some people change the word. Well, I don't want to like the word pursue. So, it's really me and you versus the wording on the question.
Yeah, I pursue happiness a lot, though, I think, actually, if I think about that. Yeah. So maybe I'm kidding myself.
Yeah.
I retract my answer.
Also, Ben, a minute ago, you just said, I don't know. And that I want people to feel comfortable. It's okay to say, I can't answer that, or I don't know. It's totally valid. So it's not,
It
I'm
would
not
be a
trying,
pretty boring interview if I just say I don't know to all of these questions, which would probably be
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I interviewed a poet once, and every question he'd go, I don't know. What do you think? And I mean, eventually he kicked in. It doesn't matter. It's not boring. It's just talking. It's just casual conversation. Do you think that does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away, and we're more so detecting it, or more so creating it?
I think. Both.
Yeah. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
There's probably an actual answer to that, right? So my opinion is kind of going to be wrong. My impulse is to say the speed of light, but actually I don't know how fast those axons are firing or whatever to produce thought. I have no idea. There's probably an answer though. I think that seems like an answerable question.
No, anyways, it's all good. It's like I get both ways. So Audre Lorde, the poet, said you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Yvonne Rainer, her colleague, said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
What new tool do I suggest for dismantling the master's house?
Great question, Ben. You put the question in the context you want. I'm basically asking, what tool do you most gravitate towards? Sometimes I open these questions with cute quotes. It doesn't mean you have to apply it. You don't have to apply the word new or dismantling the master's house unless you want. It's basically what's the tool you most gravitate towards?
Tool I most gravitate towards. I'm looking around my studio because I feel like maybe there's a physical tool here, but I think you're looking for something a little deeper.
No, it's either. If it's tangible or non-tangible.
Yeah, like vice grips are really handy,
There
for a lot of things.
That's good.
I guess, but they're good for like pulling nails out of things, or but also just random stuff. I feel like that would be the tool in my garage that I'd be most sad if I lost. But also I could replace it, I guess. So maybe that's not true. Okay. Next.
I love it. Okay. Now, I asked the tool question to everybody, and then one person said, what about a toy? What's a toy you gravitate towards?
Oh, great question. I like this one. What's a toy I gravitate towards? A toy. Yeah. Yeah, I really want to have an answer for this question. The toy I gravitate towards. Come back to this. I'll try to I'm gonna write it down and I'll think about it as we're talking.
No worries. We're gonna get into your specialty educator and video art and all that. So no worries at all.
No, this is more interesting. Yeah, this is good. Yeah.
Okay. What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Everything.
McLuhan learned from a poet, Ezra Pound, that artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Ben, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
Well, first of all, so you're okay. So people pay attention to artists.
Let me reword it. Some people, not everybody, some people kind of ignore what artists are really saying, the like deeper message. And sometimes the artists don't even know their deeper message. It's not like you have to be required to know, but
Yeah.
why do some people ignore the deeper meaning to some art?
Because there's so much art in it, and some of it doesn't have as deep a meaning as people might assume it does. And then, you know, some people find meaning in art that maybe the artist it didn't mean. I guess people make their own meanings. I can't really answer that question. I think that's a weird one. I'm not really sure. Can you, what was the part about, though, McLuhan said, or was who was it that you started with, says that
Ezra Pound said artists are the antenna of the race. Even Bob Dylan says, hey, I'm just a radio and I'm just receiving this stuff and broadcasting it. Yeah, a lot of art.
I mean, we're mediums of, some sort of medium.
But it's not even a medium. It's just, that they're a vehicle for their environment, you know. Yeah. So, you know,
why do people ignore these like seers of these antennas? Why do they tune them out? Why do people not listen to artists, or why do they not see?
There you go. Why do some people why do some people not listen to some artists? Yeah.
Probably just because there's so much noise. There's so much signal and there's so much noise. How do you decide what to sort of commit yourself to finding meaning in? I don't know. Yeah.
That's fine.
What do you think?
Well, there's most people go because they're too busy trying to make a living or whatever, you know. And you call it signal noise. That's fine. You know, it's the one thing you said that really evoked another thought was, once the artist makes their art, it's no longer theirs. The user can do whatever they want with it. You know, Michael Silverblatt of Bookworm interviewed authors for like 20 years on the radio. He knew more than the author knew themselves about their book. So he would start talking to these authors and they would go, wow, I never even realized that. Thank you. Because he was such a deep reader. That's just an exception. But it doesn't mean you're required. It's not like you're a bad viewer or audience member if you don't get the hidden message. It's just, you answered it fine. Signal noise.
I don't think the artist gets to make up the meaning of their work necessarily. It's always completed by the person who receives it. And that's why, that's why art schools exist, right? So that you can hear how other people respond to your work. Otherwise, that's the main reason it exists.
Well, that's the funniest, is Jean Cocteau said, when you make your first piece of art and you have your teacher and your family and your friends go, oh, that was really good, but you colored outside the line a little too much. Whatever they say for your criticism, Cocteau said, take that criticism and exploit it for the rest of your life. Which is a great, being a media prankster. I mean, that's it. Okay, Ben,
I gotta scrub that phrase. It's like now it seems like a kind of a cringy phrase to have in your bio, but I think it maybe used to be more true too. But that's okay. We're getting.
But what part is the cringy praise, or
to say you're a prankster? I don't know. Then it's
okay. I won't bring it up anymore. Then that's fine.
No, it's okay. I must have, but I wonder where that is. It probably still is out there, right? Like, and you did your homework.
You have little bios here and there, and you read them. It doesn't, believe me. I made a film called Who's Jamming the Culture Jammers. I love media pranksters, and I love all the people who did that and wake people up. I mean, that's basically what McLuhan and Pound were saying to each other, to needle the somnambulism, because they thought the signal and noise that you brought up was just putting people to sleep, and they said, hey, why don't we needle them out of their somnambulistic state? So do artists have moral obligation?
They're just people. Like, everybody has a moral obligation. I don't think artists are special. I don't think they're as special as they think.
Yeah.
I mean, do they have moral obligations to make their art have correct morals. That's more tricky, but I think as people, of course they do, right? Just as much as anybody else.
Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I don't think I'm afraid of ideas.
Good. Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
Wow. Sure. Conjured.
What is it?
Oh, I just thought you wanted me to conjure it. You want me to tell you
Oh,
about it?
yeah. If you can,
Okay.
if you want to articulate it or just describe it in a couple, a line or
Earliest memories. I don't have like a firm one particular earliest memory. Like I can imagine like looking at the floor in my childhood bedroom, which was kind of a green linoleum, like a mottled linoleum, like a weird kind of lumpy texture or something. It may not have actually been a green lumpy texture, you know. Maybe I'm making that up, but I think of that. I think of like our neighbor's dog on a chain barking really loud. It's a little scary. I think of, I don't know. Yeah, those are the two. Linoleum floor and a barking dog. Yeah, there you go.
they're usually visual and auditory. They're usually visual, so that's good.
Yeah.
Now, is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
I guess it depends on what your memories are. For the most part, I think it's a blessing.
Yeah. Ben, tell me someone within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what specifically was that impact?
Good question. I think my grandfather had an impact on me. He was a really funny guy. He was also, you know, he's just an interesting person who would kind of, you know, make a lot of jokes. He had kind of a slightly dirty sense of humor, but he was also like a really serious person who could get really anxious about stuff and care deeply about the world. And I think he probably did influence me in a pretty profound way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Same question. Outside your immediate family, someone who had an impact, and what was the impact?
Outside of my immediate family, someone who had an impact. Well, we were just, since it's top of mind, you had just mentioned Peggy Awesh. You know, she's a filmmaker who I discovered when I was in college, and then I really wanted to study with her, so I ended up going to graduate school at Bard because of Peggy, and I think that kind of changed my life in a lot of different ways. And she later became my colleague as when I became a professor at Bard many years later. So I'd say, you know, she impacted me partly because just her approach to filmmaking seemed so different from other avant-gardists. It seemed both really smart and kind of aware of its context in the history of the avant-garde, but also not sort of burdened or saddled by that. Is still able to sort of, you know, create pleasure and do new things that weren't necessarily, you know, canon. so I think she influenced me as an artist and also influenced my life because I ended up, you know, studying art with her and then teaching with her later.
Yeah, it's a great comment because it evokes, we'll get into experimental. I attended Ann Arbor Film Festival about 30 out of its 60 plus years.
I never went.
The pattern I noticed was the hardcore, you know, canon people would bring their students. And when the students would be, their first film would be a clone of their professor. And it was usually their best film. And that was sort of sad because it was like, oh my God. And then they started making stuff and it was like, this is no longer experimental. It's become, what is the word experimental mean? So you know all this. And so did your parents raise you a particular religion?
Well, I went to a Unitarian church, and that so that is a religion.
Sure.
It's a pretty open religion, and a lot of what that meant for me as a kid was getting a religious education about other religions. So, you know, you'd go to Sunday school and they'd teach you about what, like, you know, what Judaism was or what Islam was or what Wicca was. We actually had, you know, Wiccans come in and one time, and that was, I think I was really hyped for that as a kid, because I was like, ooh, we're gonna, you know, finally meet witches, and then it turned out to be a lot less exciting than my you know, than the Halloween imaginary wanted me to think it was going to be. But that was a big part of it. And yeah, but I think I'm a lapsed Unitarian now. Both of my parents still go to separate Unitarian churches, and but I kind of lost it a little bit. Yeah.
Do you pray?
No.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
This is the actor studio question, right?
Was it? Is that where I got it? James Lee. Oh boy! Now I know where I got that one.
And then although actors are like really like, oh yeah, I will die and God will care about me. And I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen. So I'm not hyping myself up for it. I think I'm gonna die, but I don't think I'm gonna meet you know, God who's gonna ask me or tell me something really important when I get there. Yeah. I just don't think that's gonna happen.
Ben, most people go, you did a good job. I was like, oh, how boring. It's all right. That's what they want to have, some sort of, you know, I've had this
B plus.
B plus. I've had this twice though. Just the other day,
really?
This person said, oh, I checked the record. I made a mistake. You're going back.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. Yeah.
Do evil people exist, or does the evil use people as a vehicle?
Both.
Yeah. And really the hidden question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the Mob and the Samurai, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
I think it's wonderful to be able to not acknowledge somebody, but I don't think that's practical in most cases where you have to deal with an enemy, or an enemy is actually, but you know, I should have a good answer for this. I'm a parent, I'm a 14-year-old. I should know. That seems like a sort of parental wisdom, right? Like,
well, it is like if your 14-year-old said, Dad, I'm being bullied, what would you, what advice would you give them? If any, it's not like
I'd have to really, I think it would be situational. I'd want to understand the story and try to understand how they became enemies. But I think, yeah, there are times where ignoring is useful. Yeah. Jerry, this is a good one. Do you have an answer for that? How to deal with enemies?
You know,
I don't have like really profound enemies, I don't think. So I'm not, I think I try to not have enemies. But sometimes I have them. I probably I have them. I don't know. I just don't know. You don't always know if you have enemies, right?
But it's sort of like American Indians, indigenous, whatever you were supposed to call them. They say your enemy's your best teacher. I mean, it's basically, how can you sit down and negotiate? Sit down and share food together and talk it out. That's what you would hope. It's me and you versus the problem instead of me versus you. But, you know, this is all, I just learned this from talking to people. I'm just a student, so I just ask these questions so I can hopefully become a better person. This is, you know, Nassim Taleb carried it on one more step. He said, games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, wait, when a criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff? Or does he go, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
I'm not a big believer in punishment working. I think it probably has to happen sometimes, but I don't think it necessarily allows for people to reflect and change in the way that we imagine it does. It's funny, but maybe I wasn't punished much as a kid, and sometimes when our own kid gets frustrated with us, they'll sort of, be like, well, just punish me. We're sort of like, well, no, it's not going to work. So I guess, I don't think so. Yeah.
That's like, Dad, make me take my cell phone away from me for 2 weeks. Come on, do it, please. They're like begging you to take it away. So here's a film question. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. Volta Cinema. He basically checked out. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree?" Years later, Faulkner said, "Sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism." Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
It's a great question, Gerry. I think because you can focus attention more easily with a medium like a book or a film, and sometimes that just provides a way of seeing it better. There's just always too much in real life. Plus, the way we see is like really, messy. It's we don't have a steady cam. We're looking all over the place. We've got blurry stuff on the edges of our periphery. We're hearing and seeing things. We're distracted. I don't know. I think it's just about concentrating attention on details. That's the basic reason why that works. Yeah, why art works.
Then, tell us the tipping point where you decided to pursue art. I mean, basically, you're an artist overall, I would say, but you pursued video in experimental video. But where's your tipping point? Did your parents take you to art galleries growing up and look at art books, or where was that tipping point to go, art is my calling? And then where was it, experimental video is my calling?
Well, when I was a teenager, what did I like to do? I did a lot of different stuff. I did plays. I played soccer. I skateboarded, I played in bands, but I also made TV shows at the local public access cable station, and that was something I really loved doing. And I really loved music, and I really loved making video. And I think at some point when I was in high school, I got the idea that, like, to be a musician, you have to be really good at music. And I felt like to be a video maker, you have the same kind of thrill of being able to control time and sort of sequence things in time, but it felt like something that I was maybe a little bit better at than music. I just knew that as much as I liked music, I just didn't have the chops to really be a great musician, and I knew that with video maybe I had more room to grow and sort of express myself. So I think I fell in love with video as a kid, even like making work with my parents' camcorder, but really doing a public access show in high school was the tipping point, because we had sort of free reign to make things. We had a built-in audience that was going to be, broadcast to the town. And there was an idea that we could sort of slip some fly in the ointment or some sort of weird speed bump that people would stumble across as they were flipping channels. And that was just super exciting as a kid to be like, we'll get someone's attention by accident. And they'll see something really strange. And I just loved the fluidity of video, being able to work with image and sound, and editing has always been, I think, the thing that I like most about making videos. So that's the main thing. And why? And what was the second part? How did you why you want to make art with video?
Well, we'll get into that, because I want to hold up for a second.
Yeah.
First of all, the thing that public access did, I mean, I did public access for 20 years. I mean, public access was one of the most amazing things the U.S. government bestowed upon us.
Agreed.
Because, like you said, it had a built-in audience. And the other thing you said that's really important, that people, because they go, well, YouTube made public access obsolete. No, because you don't have a studio, and you kind of have a built-in audience, but here's why it's different. Because when you were talking about the era of cable TV, and you could have 20 or 40 or 80 stations. If you channel surf, every station looked the same basically until you got to public access. It goes, this looks like it's in somebody's living room. And it's cheesy lighting and it's like weird stuff. And it's like, wow. So it immediately made people stop and go, well, I'll give this a couple seconds. And it was a built-in audience. So you really nailed it. Yeah. It's a good starting point. But tell me the three kind of music groups or genres that had the impact on you to get into music where you first started. Where was your...
It's super hard, right? You know, do you know about Music League, Gerry? This is like this new thing where you like connect it to your Spotify and you get a bunch of people and you pick a theme every week. And the theme could be like songs about animals, and like two people each pick or sorry, all the like 10 people in your league pick 2 songs about animals, and it creates a playlist and people vote on the ones they like the best. So I just tried to do one. I started a league with like sort of family and close-ish family, and asked people to provide a couple of songs that were really important to them when they were kids. And that's a really hard thing to answer, right? Because like, you know, when you're a kid, your tastes change like year to year, right? You're just like, I love this thing. And then the next year, like that thing was the pits, like you too. Come on. Right. But so like the answer you give now is also like an answer you can kind of stand by, right? And so you asked for three bands or three?
Yeah, just three bands that, and they could still, because there's one thing you said, Ben, that's amazing. There's a question that I don't ask, but it's answered this way. What's the most important era of science fiction writing? The 20s, the 40s, the 60s, the 80s? And you know the answer? When you're a teenager. Right. So most people, even though you might wander in the teenage years, most people's favorite music is the teen. Most people's favorite movie, books are teen. Somewhat, you know, it leaks over, but that's it. So yeah,
so I can answer this question probably. So I have to say Weird Al, because I was a kid when I discovered Weird Al, and the idea of a guy whose whole thing was parody was amazing. And I loved the Dr. Demento show, and would, you know, tape it and listen to those tapes over and over again. So we'll start with Weird Al. I think in junior high or high school, I started loving different types of music, like a much broader range of music. But the ones that I think I still kind of stick with me, I love the B-52s, and I love Fugazi, who I think, you know, kind of appealed to a lot of young people. The first rock show I ever went to without my parents was Fugazi as a 14-year-old.
That gives me a good range.
A wonderful experience. It was terrifying, but also just super exciting to be in that world. Yeah.
I've negotiated with Ian many times to do an interview, and he hasn't done it yet, but he's brilliant. And in Weird Al, my friend is the guy who plays in his recent tour that dresses up like a janitor and has to sweep the stage.
Oh, wow.
Well, cool. He's been on my podcast. He's been on my podcast with all these stupid questions. But Weird Al,
family to see it at Madison Square Garden. It was amazing. Loved it.
Yeah, and then you remember when the guy did the sweeping, that was Probin. But the thing that Weird Al did recently is mind blowing. He was on Colbert and he sang a merry-go-round by Wildman Fisher. And Colbert didn't even know the song. And it was like, I thought Colbert would know that. But anyways, all the power to it. But the one thing you said, I didn't get the right word, I think. Music league or lead?
League. Yeah. It's just like an app.
League.
Yeah. It's like fantasy baseball. Imagine like a fantasy baseball league, but with music. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, you grow up, you become a artist. You get gallery representation. Now, there's 3 major questions here. One is, a screenwriting teacher told me great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're making a piece of Ben art? Not a commission. It's your art. You're just making a piece of Ben art. What role does intention play?
Man, it's so weird to think about what role does intention play? Like how much do I want intention to be perceived?
Yeah, again, you put in the context you want. And however, they look at it's basically this: you're making something out of nothing. It's like Captain Beefheart said, it's just black ants crawling on white paper. So there's something where you go, I want to do this. Maybe, I don't know. You might just sit in front of your TV like Nam June Pike and take a magnet and start messing, breaking the TV set and go, that's my art. I don't know.
I mean, they did a lot more than that, but yeah.
I'm just asking you, what role does intention play?
I think I can't really answer that question, but I think what I'd say is you mentioned something like if you're making a Ben art, not a commissioned thing. And I think when I was a younger video artist, when I was a younger artist, I did a lot of projects that were like, not exactly commissions, but like somebody would use a prompt and sort of say like, hey, we want to do this. And we do like an omnibus type of project where like a bunch of people contribute. I did a bunch of those projects and I always loved having a sort of scaffold to work off of and riff off of. And I think even when I'm making a project that doesn't have an external force kind of encouraging me to do it, I'm always looking for something to kind of respond to or riff off of in a way, like whether you create some limitation that you have to be able to kind of work within, and then you see what you can do and how that limitation frustrates you or excites you or, surprises you. And then you sort of build off of it.
Perfect. Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your potential viewer when you're making your art?
I think about the context in which work is going to be shown a lot more than most artists. And it doesn't mean that I'm like, trying to say, oh, will everybody hate this? Will everybody like this? But I think often I love to make work where I know I'm most sort of focused about making work when I know what the context is going to be and like where it's going to show and how it's going to feel. So I think about the sort of specifics of the exhibition context a lot. I don't know about the audience per se, but the kind of the place or the situation or the constraints under which it's going to be shown are pretty big, I think, for me.
McLuhan says everything we invent extends some humanness, like knife and fork extends our teeth, shutter and a camera extends our eyelid, and even maybe non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, extends consciousness. What does the moving image camera extend for you? Let's just call it the camcorder. What humanness does it extend?
Yeah. I don't have an answer.
That's all right.
This does it. And it's funny because when I think about making videos, I often, obviously like I use cameras and like cameras, but I don't think I'm good at using a camera. Do you know what I mean? It's like a time-based recorder. And that's the important thing for me. It's not that it's, I love framing. I think I'm pretty bad at framing in a visual sense. But I like just having a tool that can record time. Yeah.
Really good, because McLuhan said, if it's a funny answer, most people go, what does film camera extend? Your eye or memory or blah, blah, blah. And he said, it extends your foot because you travel. In movies, you're traveling. So, I mean, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just an idea that we extend. And it's the whole thing. He said, technology is the most human thing. That extending ourselves with inventions is the most human thing, where most people are like, oh my God, this is a new invention, I can't handle it, or, and until they brainwash you, you got to have it, But you brought up the word framing aesthetic, and that's exactly a question I asked Bruce Bailey once. how'd you form your framing aesthetic? So right now, see, I'm sort of leaning here. I'm not middle. You're middle, and you got your nice architecture in the back, you know.
I was just thinking everything looks a little crooked. Like maybe I should be like fixing
Yeah,
this.
but how did you form your framing aesthetic? What informed your framing aesthetic?
I think my framing aesthetic is usually a pretty flat and simple one, and it's about kind of reducing the amount of information you're responsible for seeing. But I'm not talking about my Zoom aesthetic or whatever
Right. No, I know that, but
my desk is. So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you never, I did this in the Ann Arbor Film Festival. It runs like in the middle of the Zoom, and they like, oh my God, nobody does that because there's an aesthetic. And Bruce Bailey said, well, Cocteau said that we formed our framing aesthetic from the way you put the knife and fork on the dinner table. And really it was from the way the painters and the photographers from centuries back framed their stuff. We didn't, because Robert Frank came along and started shooting, like this kind of framing, and like, whoa, you can do that, so it is in constant. And so Peter Greenaway said cinema is much too rich a medium to be left to storytellers. Are experimental filmmakers and video makers telling stories a different way or doing something completely different? Like me and you could watch Tony Conrad's The Flicker, and it's not storytelling per se, but we might have a story go through our head when we're watching it. So just your thoughts on this line from Greenaway, that cinema is much too rich to be left to storytellers.
I like that quote, actually. And I like that early Greenaway stuff where, he's playing with form, but even that stuff actually is pretty narrative for or avant-garde work in some ways. There's kind of a backstory and a world that's created. I think, structure is a better way of describing what many experimental quote unquote filmmakers are making, but whether you call that structure a story or not just depends on how you define a story, I guess. And I get really kind of annoyed by the whole obsession of like, is it a narrative or not, or what is narrative? I guess I kind of feel like, I like stories. I like stories, but I also just don't know of stories that I want to tell on film. And then I end up making work that sometimes has a kind of a what you could call a kind of narrative element, but it's usually kind of competing with whatever the other structure is that's not the story. And so that's kind of part of the comedy, is that like I'm trying to present a thing or do something that has a structure that's non-narrative, and then there's narrative stuff kind of happening all at once because you can't avoid it.
It's amazing because Andrew Noren eventually answered this perfect for me, not to me, but in one of his writings. He says, if you put one frame next to another frame, that is narrative, whether it's gobbledygook abstract or not. And that was an interesting take, because this guy who went to school with Bob Dylan and then he became his road manager, and then I interviewed him. He's a religious guy now. He says, someone told me that there's a difference between storytelling and narrative. And the difference is that narrative doesn't lie. And I bring that up to literature people all the time. And it's like, no, stories lie. No, narrative lies. So, it's two words. It's basically Greenaway really nailing it, because the history of cinema is the history of filming plays. That's all it is. And except for the great experimental people who said, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go in my garden and shoot my flowers out of focus so you don't know what I'm showing you. So I like
the earliest film wasn't, so much about filming plays.
The earliest film was experimental, and same with YouTube. The earliest YouTubes were all experimental. But here's a question, you being an educator, how many years you've been teaching film and video art. I mean, about
20. Yeah,
20
but I've been at Bard for 16 years, but I taught at different places before that.
20 years.
Let's
What are the services and disservices of marginalizing experimental filmmaking? I mean video making too. Jackson Pollock was on the cover of Life magazine in 49. Regular people could start forming an aesthetic on experimental painting. There was no Bruce Conner or Maya Deren on the cover of Life magazine. Generally, it's rich, privileged art kids who develop an avant-garde aesthetic and dominate the experimental film world. Any comment?
I think when I was when I was in college, it really did, and this is in the 90s, it really did occur to me, and at that point, it might have been especially true that the avant-garde had been married to academia in a way that was not healthy. That meant it was a kind of a closed loop where sort of hyper-educated people were hyper-educating other people to understand what they thought was important, and things felt really rigid. But then, when I was a younger video maker and I started to see different, film festival scenes, I think I saw it a little bit differently. And also, I went to school in Providence, and Providence in the 90s was just a place where I think a lot of interesting art kids were just kind of doing their own thing for each other outside of school. They do a screening in a loft and have everybody do live soundtracks, or they have hardcore shows or wrestling matches or whatever. And it was just a wild, free time, and it really, I think, taught me what avant-garde work could be that wasn't sort of hyper academic. And I think I've always kind of resisted the sort of academic side of art making to an extent, but while also maybe indulging in it a little bit. Here I am, I'm part of this problem. But the question is, like, is experimental film just kind of a boutique thing for privileged kids to be taught in a school so they have an appreciation for it? Yes and no. I think, sort of, but also, like, it's so marginal, and so like the sort of world of experimental film has really, like, evaporated into social media and YouTube, and also the art world proper. So it's no longer its kind of parallel universe that it was in the 90s, that was kind of like, I don't know, experimental music maybe still is kind of an academics tradition, but also music is so broad and understandable that, like, the boundaries are more fluid.
No, that was good because,
yeah, I don't know.
No, that's what I want. It's good that we're just exchanging ideas here, because we want everyone to have access to this, but it's the history of art is the religious and political dudes were financing it. So that's the history of art. It's already set in that mode. So we want people to break out of it and do different things, and we want people to succeed who do it good in that setting. All the power to them. Now, I spoke with Michael Apted 45 years ago, and I asked him, why do rock video editors feel so obliged to edit fast? Most people don't know Abel Gance invented rapid montage in 1922, but it flourished in the 80s with MTV to the point where Marty Scorsese said, I cut my films faster because of MTV. Well, Michael Apted said, because we've learned to take in information faster. So I asked this with a bias. Can we literally learn to take in information faster, or are we just brainwashed to believe we can?
I don't know, but I feel like maybe we've reached our limit, I'm not, or we're getting close, but I could be wrong about that. Can we train ourselves to take in information faster? I think so, but only with a lot of repetition and of the same type of information.
And the real hidden question, Ben, is it literally possible for humans to multitask?
I can't. Yeah. Yes, I think it is possible for some humans, but I can't do it.
McLuhan said this thing about 1957. It's misleading to suppose there's any basic difference between education and entertainment. It's like setting up a distinction between didactic and lyric poetry on the ground that one teaches and the other one pleases. However, it's always been true that whatever pleases teaches more effectively. So twofold. Basically, I'm asking you, what's the difference between entertainment and education? In this line, whatever pleases teaches more effectively. Any thoughts?
I don't think education is immediately pleasing all the time. I think it's delayed gratification and a deeper sort of type of being pleased, or different type of pleasure. But I think, yeah, I don't really get that.
Yeah.
It doesn't really make sense to me, but okay. Yeah.
But were you trained how to be an educator, or they just threw you in and say, start teaching and learn from who taught you? So you like jokes, or you like humor. Do you use humor in your teaching, or you stay serious?
I don't, I switch it up. I think I'm not that different when I'm teaching than I am right now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I use humor in my teaching sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think of what I'm doing as entertainment. So once I had a therapist, I was like really freaking out about teaching a class. I was a new teacher, and I remember being like, oh, I'm just so nervous about, what I'm going to show them. And she was like, teaching is not a performance. And I remember feeling like, is that true? And sometimes I think that is true, but I think you do have to get up for it. And there is an element of teaching that is performance, of course. Like you're kind of preparing what you're going to say. There's a lot of improvisation, but people are looking at you, they're receiving you. You've got to keep them engaged. I don't feel like I need to keep them entertained, though, really. Yeah. I think, the stakes are a lot lower for entertainment, or for education in some ways, in terms of how engaged you expect your audience to be. It's just a different type of engagement, and, more sort of, it's sort of bigger than that. I think. I don't think I don't think I like that idea that they're the same thing.
Yeah. What do you think the motive of the cave artist was? Your hunch or guess?
The motive of the cave art, the proto-cinema of the cave art. I don't know what their motive was. I think, yeah, it's super interesting that people thought to do cave paintings, right? Because you have to imagine that there wasn't like, an art world that was ready to get excited about them or whatever. It wasn't a chosen profession. I don't know, probably to impress other people, but also just to see if it could be done. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Gerry? What
well, you get a million. It's like if I draw a picture of the deer, then the deer will come out. Or if I draw a picture of the deer,
happen. Yeah, that's
or if I draw a picture of the deer, then that's a record of what we did. Or I think it was to have art shows in your cave so you could serve grapes and crackers, and your friends would come over and chill out together. I mean, who knows? One of my favorite answers was, what's the motive of the cave artist? To keep people in the cave.
It's good. Good. Yeah.
Okay, Ben, just general, here's a couple more. What's more important, conviction or compromise?
Ooh. Huh. I think the correct answer is probably compromise. I'm not saying that I'm the best at living that answer, but yeah, I think compromise probably is more important in the long run.
It's so funny because here's how
sexy though. It's not good for artists, right? To compromise.
But this is my oldest question. 40 years. I got it from Christine McKenna. I love the question.
Good question. I like that question.
But it is, it's stupid because people go both, and 80% of people say conviction. But when someone says compromise, which is the answer I want to hear, because I want to reinforce my own beliefs with the people I interview, but I want to hear why people say the other point of view, so it opens my mind up to more possibilities. But when you said compromise, this is how I would normally respond. Ben, there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but that one you got right.
Cool. Glad I got one right. Okay.
Okay. T.S. Eliot said poetry's outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Like as opposed to English or?
Yeah, it's more like what form is your inner consciousness in?
Yeah, it's definitely in English because I don't really speak other languages. I speak a little French, but I'm not very good at it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but you're not looking for that. You're looking for something else.
Yeah, but here you'll love Abigail Childs. I says, "What form is your your inner dialogue in?" She goes, "I wish I knew." But I mean, you have a voice inside your head. I'm just sort of wondering, what is it besides a voice, or is it, you know, your mother complaining, or it's TV commercials, or you know, it? Yeah, I get all kinds. It doesn't matter if you don't know. That's fine. It's like,
yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
George Manupelli started the Ann Arbor Film Festival over 60 years ago. His mantra was ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas said, there is no self-expression. And Cecil Taylor, great jazz pianist, says, I'm just a vehicle and this stuff just comes through me. Is art making more self-expression or more you're a vehicle for whatever technologies, cultures, and environments are dominant?
I think it's more self-expression, but not entirely. There's always a combination of those two things.
Can art making be egoless?
Sure.
Another one. You're hitting them out of the ballpark, man. Okay. Is percept no 80% of people go, no, that can't be egoless. This woman told me, she goes, great art is egoless. So who knows?
That's a good answer, right? To be like the best art is egoless.
Because you're hitting this universal thing. But again, it's no right or wrong. Okay, is perception reality?
No, not necessarily.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the fake experimental film by Coleman Miller called Uso Justo?
No, is it good?
Dude, it's amazing. You know who Bruce Conner is?
Sure.
Bruce Conner's favorite film, USTO, JUSTO. If you went over to Bruce Conner's house when he was alive, he'd make you watch Uso Justo. Yeah. And it's funny. I mean, it's
a fake experimental film, like it's making fun of the.
Well, it's sort of like Tex Avery meets Ernie Kovacs making a typical experimental film, but it's fun. And Coleman Miller, who made it's brilliant. And I says, is perception reality? And he goes, that's all you got.
That's good. Yeah.
Lewis Carroll says, I believe as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast. Have you believed in any impossible things lately?
Have I believed in any impossible things lately? If I have, then would I know they were impossible yet?
That's answering a question with a question, and that question's very good. Really good. I don't know. All I know is what Sun Ra said in the New Yorker magazine recently. The impossible attracts me because everything possible has been done and the world didn't change. Okay, Ben, tell me one major element of your creativeness that's changed and one major element that's stayed the same in the years you've been doing this.
This will be a boring answer. I think the thing that's changed the most is I don't perform in my work as much. That was a big part of what I think drew me to making work in my earlier years, was performance of some kind, either live or on camera. I think so that I think has dissipated a bit or a lot. And then one thing that stayed the same, I still really like an assignment, or I like a constraint.
Yeah. What do you think caused the change?
Getting older, I think it's pretty normal, right? Like if you look at the history of performance art, lots of people sort of perform when they're young. They have to,
Yeah.
it's sort of putting themselves out there, and very few performance artists keep going for a long, throughout their entire career. It's relatively rare for people to do that. So I don't know. I think you just sort of get over yourself, or you get over the idea that you're like important for people to look at, and you don't want to do it. Maybe it even kind of embarrasses you a little bit to perform in front of people when you get older. I'm not sure, but obviously not for everyone. There are some artists who keep on going as a performance artist for many decades, but it's rare. I think it's a young person's game mostly.
Yeah, my hero, Professor Irwin Corey, was performing at age 100.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, Mike Kelly said, art is making your problems other people's problems. Any thoughts?
I love Mike Kelly. Yeah. R.I.P.
Well, what do you think of saying that? Art is making your problems other people's problems.
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. Anger can be a productive emotion when
it helps you get shit done.
Yes. Utah Phillips says anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
Everyone.
I like that. Thank you. In fact, what Utah said is what etymologically the word freedom breaks down to, making one's rules for one's own self. What does freedom mean to you now?
What does freedom mean to me now, specifically now?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to put that on hold with the toys question because it's such a good question. I don't want to fuck up the answer.
No worries. We got about 20 more minutes. And if you don't answer them then, you can always type them in the comments when you think of them. It's all good.
Okay.
I appreciate your time and energy here. It's really been fun. What's the most significant difference between women and men, physical aside?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer that question.
No worries.
I don't think that's easy to answer, actually. Yeah.
Well, no, when the Me Too started, I couldn't answer it. People would freak out. And now they're more likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is interesting because the majority, the cliche is women are emotional, men are linear. And then, my follow-up question is what caused matriarchy?
What caused matriarchy?
Yeah.
Does matriarchy, you mean
rule by women?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
What caused it?
Does it exist?
Well, supposedly it did.
Okay.
For many years, but
right.
I mean, if we get a woman leading a country, that's matriarchy in a way. So it does exist in a way.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I got you.
There's a line, Ben, that goes, you create what you resist. Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. So this line, you create what you resist. I'm not saying you, but one creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that line?
One creates what one resists. There's probably some truth to that. Yeah, I don't.
That's fine. Don't worry. This is all
Sorry,
hollow.
Gerry. I feel like I'm getting worse as we go on. Now when
No.
God gets the pearly gates, he'll be like, B minus. Yeah.
Don't worry. No, you know the joke there. You get to the pearly gates, and you're peeking in, and St. Pete says, "Oh, Ben," and you peek in. You go, "Oh, you got a podcast Zoom with Gerry in heaven," and St. Pete goes, "That's all we got." So this is
Whoa,
this
is taking on some
and it could work with hell.
Yeah. Okay.
You can flip it, heaven or hell. So
Okay.
this is Hollis Frampton. Narrative is born among the animal necessities of the spirit because we're waiting to die. My question is, can you forget to die?
Can you forget to die and not die?
Well, you're adding another dimension to the question. The first part is, can you forget to die?
Sure.
Oh, well, there you go. How do you find peace of mind?
You tell me.
By tackling these 5 quick Alan Watts questions off the top of your head.
Okay.
In just a couple words. First thought, best thought. You don't have to overthink them. 1, who started it all?
Who started it all? Who started it all? And I know you don't want you want me to decide on what it is, right?
Yeah, you could
follow it.
If you go, what is it? That's what a lot of people say. What is it? I goes, put it in the context you want. But you can just
right. That's the obvious answer there, right? Yeah. Who started it all? Abner Doubleday?
Who is that?
Isn't he the sort of now debunked inventor of baseball?
Oh, there you go. Very good.
I don't know.
Baseball's inventor. I should know that. Okay, 2. Are we going to make
really
it?
The baseball inventor, though. I think now everybody's proved that he actually didn't invent it. Maybe I don't know. Yeah.
Well, that's so amazing because it's just endless like that.
Right.
Who invented something and they go, that guy didn't invent it. So anyways, that's good. Okay. 2, are we going to make it?
Eventually, no. But in the short term, maybe.
No to maybe is good. Okay, where do we put it? 3.
Where do we put it? Where do we put it? Where do we put it? What do people answer? Do they just? I just want to say something really mean or something. Where do we put it? But no, where do we put it?
You want to say something mean? That's
no,
good.
but I just don't know where we put it. Where do we put it? We put it. I don't know. I don't.
That's all right. Don't.
This is part of my grade, right? This is the 5 questions.
No, don't worry about it. There's no grade. We're just here. Saying I don't know is totally valid. Number 4, Ben, is who's cleaning it up?
Who's cleaning it up? The person who made the mess.
5, is it serious?
Super serious.
Wow, there you go. Okay, Frank Zappa said, I'm very serious about being not serious.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah. You're you worked with Frank Zappa, right?
I did. It was real privilege. He was truly an experimental filmmaker too. True and blue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Um, don't hold back.
Good. This is Marcel Proust's question. On what occasion do you lie?
I guess when I can't think of how to honestly tell the truth. That's kind of a weird answer, but I'm trying to think about that. Do I lie a lot? I don't really like to lie. but I probably do, and I'm trying to think about why I would lie. Probably, yeah, probably out of convenience. But usually it's not convenient to lie. It's pretty inconvenient to lie usually. Yeah.
And I think what you're able to do is try to consider both ends of the spectrum. That's what Pascal, the mathematician philosopher, said. In order to understand anything, you have to know this end of the spectrum and that end and everything in between. But one of my favorite answers is Tom Waits. On what occasion do you lie? He goes, I didn't know I needed an occasion.
That's good. Yeah, yeah.
Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
Oh, geez. I've given into the family preference for over, and now I'm like, whatever. I used to think it was like probably under, but now I guess I've been converted because of my wife. Just trying to be a team player. Compromise is more important than
there you go, dude. You practice what you preach, because the patent is 100 years old and it hasn't going over. But 80% of people say over, but the people who say under have their reasons. So it doesn't, there's no right.
I used to think that was right, but then it didn't seem like it was worth fighting for that principle necessarily. After a certain point, I just kind of decided I'm going to give up on that one. Yeah.
Well, one of my wisest teachers in Altacocker on Venice Beach taught me, when your wife wants the window open and you don't want it open, just leave it open. Does it really matter? So if she wants a toilet paper, come on, compromise. It's beautiful.
The window open is very different, though. That's going to it's affecting temperature. I don't know.
That's different.
Totally different. Yeah.
Ben, if a publisher was going to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Wait till it goes on sale.
That is wait till it goes on sale. I like that. They want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell?
Ooh, that's good. The scent of the glue and bind. So like this is a world
you open up your book. You open up Ben's autobiography. Wait till it goes on sale, and when you open it, the glue in the binding sort of releases this smell.
Like an odor. Yeah. Yeah. And it could be any odor.
Exactly. That's what I'm asking you. Do you want to specify a smell?
Yeah. I think I prefer to not have the book have a strong odor.
No smell. Yeah.
But, like, wouldn't it be nice if it smelled like, I don't know, minty or something yeah.
Minty is good.
Minty. Yeah, sure. Minty. Let's say minty.
Ben, they want to build a statue in your honor. Where would you want it displayed, and what would it be made of?
A statue in my
if a statue was built in Ben's honor, where and what would it be made of?
Made of ice, planted in at the moment when the ice is about to melt because it's starting to get warm out for spring. Just in the middle of wherever.
Laurie Anderson did that great piece of art. Talk about performance artists. She would stand on the corner and play her violin, and her feet were in ice skates that were in a block of ice. So she would play until the ice melted.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Tell me something good you never had and you never want.
Something good I never had and I never want. I never want to have.
You never had it and you never want it, but it's good.
Um, Never had it. Gosh, I feel like I've got a good answer for this somewhere in my head. How about a motorcycle?
Never had it, never want it, and it's good. It's a good answer. You know the answers I get the most? Fame, money, and heroin.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good answers, I think.
You know what Mike Kelly said?
What?
Kids.
Ah, that's a good answer too.
It's
Yeah.
a good answer.
Yeah. Mike Kelly is good. He always had good answers, huh? He was a smart guy.
Smart guy. I went to college with
interviews too, right? That probably helps you kind of think of answers. Like if you're getting interviewed, do you have all the answers?
No, I just wander around and go with the intuition or hunch. But the thing about Mike, and I verbalized this many times, I wrote a whole article about it. I went to college with him in Ann Arbor. He was too smart to commit suicide. What the fuck? Dude, come on. And you know, I can't judge him because either Sartre or Camus said, and Alan Watts quotes it all the time, the whole point of life is whether you commit suicide or not. It's like, no, it isn't. It's like, hey, you want to keep living. I mean, you got a family and kids. How would they? You don't want to do that. But who knows? He has a right to do that. There's no rule that you can't. I mean, I think he's raised Catholic like me. It's like, no, it's a sin to commit suicide. It's like, what? So anyways, it's complex. All the power to him because he made a big impact on the art world. And his feature film is amazing. Have you ever watched that 3-hour film?
Which one?
They made one feature film, whatever it's called. It's worth seeing because it's not like Julian Schnabel or Sidney Sherman, like an artist making a feature film. It's a piece of art. It's 3 hours. It's a piece of art. It's not like, oh, now I'm a great artist, I can make a feature film.
Right. I'm just trying to think about Mike Kelly's or like long films. You don't remember what it's called?
No, you just Google it. What feature film did Mike Kelly make? And it will come up. Okay. a couple more and we're out of here. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
This is a crazy, stupid question. What would I do? I'm in a vat of vomit and I've been, I guess I'd hold my nose or hold my breath.
Hold your nose and breath. All right. Yeah. You know what Mike said?
What?
Cry. See, he was an emotional guy. That's why he probably did that. He was emotional. What an answer to say cry. But I'll tell you, one of my favorite answers, because you always like, well, what? This woman on the boardwalk in Venice said, I'd take the velocity of the bag of shit and I would use it to swoop my way out of the vat of vomit. I goes, dude, that's Descent into the Maelstrom, the short story by Edgar Allan Poe. He studied the broken boat parts. Instead of being swirled down to his death in a whirlpool, he used them to swoop his way out of, this is the main thing McLuhan learned from Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce. How do you turn a breakdown into a breakthrough? So that's like the question I forgot. I can't believe I left this out is Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength, rather than we're normally taught to overcome a weakness. Tell me a weakness you turned into a strength.
I think especially with performance, and I used to say this to students when I used to teach my performance class. You know, anxiety is always a huge strength. If you're not really nervous about doing something, it's very hard for anyone to care at all.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge thing to just sort of understand how much more powerful you are when you are feeling things intensely with your body.
Dude, it's a great answer. You really answered it well. It's been a pleasure, Ben. I got a couple more and we're done. Okay. Tell me, what is the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
You know, the cultural shift I think I started perceiving maybe like 10 years ago that inspires me with young people is I think a increasing appreciation for earnestness that struck me at first as really weird, but I think is actually really good. I think people I know that seems strange, right? Because like, you know, we just grew up in heavily kind of ironic times, and you know, I like art that isn't just sort of straight and flat. But I think like people being sort of bare with their feelings and ideas, it can also just be a really wonderful, refreshing thing. So that's a cultural shift that's not necessarily something you're seeing all over the place in the news today. It's not like, you know, our government seems particularly earnest or something, but I think young people are, and I think that's maybe good. I don't know if it's always great for art, but I think it's great for their survival, I think.
It's a great word. Tell me another word for earnestness. Like, suss that out a little more, because I think it's important what you're saying.
Yeah. I would say resisting making the joke when it would be easier to make the joke.
Wow. Okay, now you inspired the joke question. Steve Allen, behind every joke, there's a grievance. Any thoughts? And drop the word every. Behind jokes, there's a grievance.
Yeah, I think so.
What's the function of laughter?
To put the other person at ease. The person you're at ease.
To put the other at ease. That's amazing, because Gurdjieff said laughter is the reconciliation of yes and no.
That's good.
What's a question that remains unresolved for you?
What was the question you asked about the toy? What's the important toy?
What's a toy you gravitate towards?
Yeah.
Or, you know, what's a toy you use or you like? Or
right. That can't be the answer to what's unresolved, though. That's just like
well, in this 90 minutes is unresolved. That's all right. But dude, there's no
that's unresolved for you. Wow. And a question that's unresolved for me. This is another one where you stump me a little bit, Gerry. I'm because I feel like almost every question is unresolved for me. Like it's not like there's one, but it's gonna be a profound one that's like really like that. I'm
right.
Like,
no,
that
right.
I really can't. But I've been thinking about deeply for years, and I still just don't know the answer. Like I don't know. Yeah.
Ben, I have the answer for you. I have 300 questions total. I usually get through about 40 in 90 minutes. And here's the answer. What question remains unresolved for you? The one that's not on your list, number 301. Yes. Or here's the John Cage, my favorite of all time. John Cage is asking a question. What question remains unresolved for you? He'd go, that's a very good question. I wouldn't want to ruin it with an answer.
Good. Yeah, that's good for a lot of your questions, honestly.
Yeah.
Right?
But the other one I got from Mad Magazine, my favorite book besides Finnegan's Wake is Snappy Answers to Stupid
Big
Questions.
Yeah.
That's a great book. And the guy there, these two guys are sinking in quicksand.
Yep.
And one guy goes, "Is this quicksand?" And the other guy goes, "No, it's slow sand. What's your hurry?"
That's good. Yeah.
How has video making shaped your, and being an artist, video making, installations shaped your behavior?
Shaped my behavior. Ooh. I don't know how it shaped my behavior. I don't think it has. Has it shaped my behavior? Do people answer that question?
I'll tell you, the guy, here's one interesting.
Does it like slow me down or something? Like, no.
Well, here's an interesting one. My friend, he's written 15 books.
Right.
And his last book, or one about his last book, Dylan's estate bought it for a lot of money. It was about Bob Dylan. Then they used it to make the Timmy a Zimmy movie. Timmy plays Zimmy, whatever the movie, the big Bob Dylan movie that came out. Yeah. So they used it, but he had nothing to do with the movie. They just said it was based on this book.
Huh.
And his name's Elijah Wald, and he's a musician, but he can't really make his money being a musician, and he can barely making it being a writer. And I says, how is writing and playing music shape your behavior? And he said, writing's made me antisocial. Playing music's made me social. So, I mean, it doesn't matter. It was just interesting how he compared the two kind of callings in his life. Because I could have said, how is being an educator for 20 years shaped your behavior?
Whoa. Yeah. How has anything shaped your behavior? Like, it's like you're really giving people a lot of credit for how self-conscious they are. How has being an educator shaped my behavior? I think on the one hand, it's made me have to play the role of an adult more, and it made me sort of have to be a grown-up. But I think on the other hand, it always keeps me sort of guessing. There's this, like, that's the rewarding thing about teaching, is the surprises you get in the classroom. And I think, like, it definitely reminds me that the same thing repeated over and over again is never really the same, and that things are constantly changing, and that's good. It's made me more kind of sort of responsive to change and difference, and it's good. Yeah.
It keeps me guessing is perfect. How's it shaped your behavior? It keeps me guessing. I always say that nothing is the way it is. Yeah. The big thing, these two words are major in McLuhan: concept and percept. Mm-hmm. Academia is concept. Here's your assignment. Now read it back to me. Okay, that's a con job. Now, concepts are good. They're theories. Percepts are your guess or your intuition. That's why you throughout this 90 minutes, you go, well, it could be this or it could be that. You don't have to nail it down. And that's why McLuhan got blackballed out of academia and he's considered a crank, is because he teased people to believe his percepts were concepts. So in the Wikipedia entry, it says media theorist. He says, no, keep that, but I'm not a theorist. I'm just guessing and inventing new questions.
Yeah.
And he wants new questions and new metaphors, but he's still going to remain in academia. It's like, you're gonna keep teaching, or you're about to retire? Are you still teaching?
Am I about to retire? No.
And you don't want to retire. You like your job.
Yeah, I like my job. I hope it lasts for a long time.
There you go. See, keep me guessing.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I might have to retire. I got ideas about what I would do if I had to retire, but I don't think I'm planning to retire.
Well, that's good. Okay, so 2 more and we're done, Ben. Here we go. Thornton
Yeah.
Wilder. Thornton Wilder said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time.
Mm.
You've laid your cards on the table for 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't already answered this. What's it really all about for you?
I think what it's about is figuring out how to make the tools, the master's tools to destroy the house, feel like your own, and to build your own house with those tools.
Yeah.
But I think, you know, yeah, that's enough.
That's good because, like I said, Marshall said, come up with new questions and new metaphors. George Lakoff said, come up with new tools. He says, use the existing tools, but you can invent new tools. All the power. What gives you the most optimism?
Find a new thing you can do with the tools,
Yeah, and find a new thing. That's turning a breakdown into breakthrough. Like, when the NFTs started, you know what they're called? No fucking thing, NFT. And then artists started fucking with them, like, hey, we can make art out of this. So, complain all you want, but just use, same with AI, whatever. Okay, what gives you the most optimism?
What gives me the most optimism? Geez, that's not a very 2026 question. What gives me the most?
Guess what? You nailed that, Ben. Most people will go, well, when I ask the cultural shift question, they go, no, I see a lot of cultural shifts. I don't inspire me. But optimism is like, is there anything that gives you optimism?
Is there anything that gives me optimism? It's funny, like I have this dad who's extremely optimistic, and our kid, when they were 10, wrote this story where they described him as recklessly optimistic, which I love. And I think that I think I'm optimistic in sort of like small ways, but my overall sort of long-term view is extremely pessimistic. And so I think that's a problem. What makes me optimistic? Well, seasons make me optimistic that they still exist. We live in the Northeast. We have just really extreme seasons. That kind of makes me feel like we're going to keep cycling, and that's at least something. So there's something to be done about that. But there's a lot to be pessimistic about right now. I think that, I don't have more to say about that. I got to think about it. Yeah.
That's fine.
What makes you optimistic?
Say it again.
What makes you optimistic?
Spending time like this, talking to people. This is great.
This is nice.
But it's like they asked McLuhan, are you an optimist or a pessimist? He goes, I'm an apocalypse. We're fucked. He didn't say fuck, but he meant, the word apocalypse etymologically breaks down to reveal. So he was just saying, you're one of them. It's like the Wizard of Oz and you're Toto. We're atomic dogs, and all we're doing is pulling the curtain back and go, hey, or you decide, So you can, it's not. He was generally an optimist, but he knew that you want to be a realist, and probably your reaction to your dad being overly optimistic, then you took the other route. Who knows? Like you can't not become your parents. It's in your DNA and how they raised you. But you can, like, if your parent is an alcoholic, you might not become an alcoholic because of lifestyle choice, or you might become an alcoholic because of DNA. So we don't know, but it's like, just being aware and able to talk like this. The first question I asked, Ben, is what's the best thing for a human being? Wilhelm Reich said the best thing for a human being is another human being. And the last question I asked is what they asked Groucho Marx at the end of his life. What gives you the most optimism? He said, other people. So it's sure been fun spending this time with another person, especially because it was you. Thank you so much, Ben. He's cracking up.
Yeah, no, I think that's the right answer. Other people. It's also the reason for pessimism, but it's also you're right.
Yeah.
It's the reason for optimism. It's a reason for everything, right? So there you
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
But again, it's not that you have to nail either of them. That's the problem with question asking, is what Rebecca Solnit said. Just because you ask me a question doesn't mean I have to answer it. And I'm all for that. Just because I set up the structure of my interviews as a question Q&A, I don't care. You don't have to answer a question. It's just a prompt to talk.
Yeah. Do you do the same structure for all your interviews, where you're kind of, it's kind of a rapid fire list of deep questions?
Pretty much 40 years rapid fire, but I've over the last year I slowed down, and now I'm doing part 2s and 3s with people, and sometimes that's good. And what happens is I have to review them, because I don't want to kind of re-ask the questions and get a feel, because some might take them out of order and whatever. But that's been an enlightenment too for me, because it's like, oh no, I got to listen to this 90 minutes, to prep, when, it took me 5 minutes to look at your bios. And I actually listened to your Yale interview for 30 minutes, it's informative, but yeah, I mean, that's it's kind of rapid fire, but I want people to feel that they can stare off in space and not say anything and just think. I mean, you did that a couple times, and people watching will go, did my video mess up? It must have froze.
Right. Yeah. Well, you did give me permission to do that. So I was like, oh, I better take that permission.
But the other one, I get this criticism, and it's valid. I take notes. So I'm sitting here like this, taking notes, and my head's not looking at you.
Yeah.
And so they'll write in the comments, dude, you don't even look at the person you're interviewing. I goes, yeah, that's right. I'm taking notes, and I try to give eye contact when I'm asking the question, but
I think you did that pretty well. I took some notes too, but I did, just to help me remember what I'm supposed to look up, like Gusto Justo, and think about what toy I play with, or is it a toy I play with, or a toy I just
whatever you want. I mean, play is funny. You started pursuing music. It's funny because what do you do with music? You play music,
right? Yeah.
You don't work music, so that's why music is called by Walter Pater, all art aspires to the condition of music. Yeah. So that's why you went the route of experimental video. It's visual music,
Sure. Yeah. And I think if you don't understand the language of music and you don't buy into it, it's very hard to be a good filmmaker or video artist or whatever, or work with that medium. It's just, you can't understand time in an artistic way and not care about music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do consider sending us a short pixel or a long one, because we'd love to have you in number 36 years. Can you believe that? We've been showing pixel vision for 36 years.
How many more years do you think you'll be able to do it before all the cameras?
I got a miracle friend who came out of, I think it's Ohio, last year, and he's obsessed. Obsessed. He's really deep. He could fix your pixel camera too, Sam Wilson, and he will carry it on. I'm pretty confident he'll carry it on after I kick the bucket.
Well, I think Patrick, it's in good hands with Patrick right now, and hopefully
Patrick
do it.
Patrick started entering our festival about 2 or 3 years ago. I goes, dude, do you make films? He goes, yeah. I says, well, send. So he's been in for about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, cool. Well, fingers crossed that he can get those power issues figured out, and if not, I'll try to throw something together from the
footage you have. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then don't worry, Ben, because 400,000 were made. There's still pixel cameras out there, and if you need a pixel camera someday and it's going to be used to make art, I'll give you one.
Okay, that's a very I might. It depends, because I think the ones I have right now are kind of on the ropes. They did a lot of service. They're good cameras, but I think they have some weird electrical power issue that's a little tricky. So we'll find out. Yeah. Well,
for a plastic toy.
Amazing. Unbelievable. Yeah. And it also feels, I think, more exciting than ever, in the world of 8K bullshit. It's wonderful to have a toy that's still.
Have you ever, we've interviewed the inventor of the pixel camera twice.
Oh, really? What's he like?
They're both on YouTube. Oh, he's amazing. James Wickstead. And it's 20 years apart. You can watch it on YouTube. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Ben, thanks again. Even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking forever and ever.
Okay, thanks.